This is Joe narrating a PowerPoint in Social Studies. It's in the unit on Social Studies Practices, Lesson 6, Interpret Data and Statistics, found on page 422 in Kaplan. In this lesson, we'll talk more about tables and graphs, which you will find on the Social Studies GED test. They will also be on the math test and the science test, so you should be very familiar with the ideas in this lesson. Those ideas include central tendency, which means when you're trying to describe a set of data points, the measure of central tendency, like a median or a mean, tells you information about that set of data. When you have the data and you chart it, you can make comparisons between two groups, or you can look for trends in the data to make predictions about the future. So let's talk about measures of central tendency. The mean is also called the average. Mathematically, you add up all the numbers and then divide by the number of numbers. So for example, here you have a set of numbers 2, 2, 3, 5, 5, 7, and 8. You add up all those numbers, you get 32, and since there are 7 numbers, you divide by the 7. So your mean is 4.57. The median is the middle value in a set of numbers once you put all the numbers in order from lowest to highest. So it's very important that you do that first. So you arrange the numbers on bottom here, 2, 2, 3, 5, 5, 7, 8. You arrange them in order from lowest to highest, and you pick the number in the middle, which is 5. That is your median. If you have an even set of numbers, you will have 2 middle numbers. You take the average of those 2 numbers to get the median. The mode is the most frequent appearing number in a set of numbers. So for example, in our data set 2, 2, 3, 5, 5, 7, 8, the number 2 appears twice, the number 5 appears twice, the numbers 3, 7, and 8 appear just once each. So the numbers that appear most are 2 and 5. So we have 2 modes, 2 and 5. The range also tells you about your data set. It tells you what the lowest number is and what the highest number is, and the difference between them. So the range is the difference between the lowest and the highest number in your data set. So for example, if I have an average income in a group of people of 40,000 and my range is 38,000 to 42,000, that tells me that most people are going to be around that average. I can also have an average income of 40,000 with a range of 10,000 to 70,000. So that tells me I'm looking at a group of people who have a large range in incomes. So they have the same average, but the two populations are different. Here's just a summary slide. You can pause this to make sure you understand the difference between mean, median, mode, and range. You will see this in social studies, science, and math. So make sure you understand this. Again, another summary slide in a different format. You can pause this to make sure you know the difference. So let's look at a data set. On top we have 10 numbers, 3.4, 4.8, 8.4, and so on. So to take our median, we would arrange them from lowest to highest first, and there are 10 numbers, which is an even number, so we would take the 2 middle numbers, 4.8 and 5.6, once we arrange them from lowest to highest, and take the average of those 2 numbers. The mode is the most commonly occurring value. If you look at the numbers, we see 9.6 appearing 3 times. No other number appears that often, so 9.6 is our mode. The mean means you take all the numbers, add them up, and then divide by the number of numbers, which is 10, and that gives us our mean. Again, I keep stressing that when you take a median, before you find the median or calculate it, make sure that you arrange the numbers from smallest to largest. In our example here, we have 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 6. Put them in order from lowest to highest. We get 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 6. We see 2 numbers in the middle, 2 and 3, since this is an even number of numbers. and you take the average of 2 and 3, and you get 2.5. So let's look at an example. If we want to take the mean, we have 2 dice that were thrown 10 times, and we get a result for each time we throw the dice. Those numbers were 7 on the first throw, 5 on the second throw, 2 on the third throw, etc. The mean is found by adding those numbers up and dividing by the number of throws, which is 10. We have 70 divided by 10 is 7. Our range is the maximum minus the minimum, and we get 10. Find the mean of this data set. You would add up the numbers, divide by the number of numbers. You add up the numbers, you get 72. Divide by the number of numbers, which is 8, and you get 9.